Podcast City Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Deathmatch Russell Podcast. Let's get it on!
Come into the ring, step into the fire, see what you want, baby. If your heart has desire, get out, get knocked down. Deathmatch Russell Podcast, Deathmatch Russell Podcast, Deathmatch Russell Podcast.
Good evening, everyone, and you're listening to another episode of the Deathmatch Russell Podcast, and my co-host Everett Lee of the Everett Lee Show joining us tonight from the joining us from the Joners Wrestling Podcast Network and podcaster himself, John Scott. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing wonderful. Amazing to be on your podcast. Thank you so much for inviting us. I know that your show is part of the Joners Podcasting Network,
yes,
so it's nice for us to
absolutely
collaborate and work together.
And Podcast City Network, as Everett Lee will get into that as well.
Absolutely, but I'm doing well, and thank you so much for having me on your show. It's a real pleasure.
Everett, you got anything to say?
Yes.
Go ahead, speak.
Yeah. This is great. This is great. I love jumping in on Deathmatch Russell Podcast, supporting Deathmatch Russell Podcast.
Oh yeah.
And I love jumping in here with David when he asked me, he's like, "You want to co-host with me?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course. You know, I'm always down for it, man. Always getting on Deathmatch Russell Podcast with David." And
great theme music, by the way. The Deathmatch.
Okay. You want
to theme music is awesome.
Do you want to know how John? You know where I got
give
that
us the
from?
story behind that one.
Yeah, tell David.
I love telling the story. Okay, $20. I was on one night. I was surfing on TikTok, and I saw this guy collabing with
Instagram.
You TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
Actually,
yeah, sorry.
on TikTok. So the guy was collabing with music, like doing like the instrumental and like the voice. What do you call it? Digital stuff and how and he was like taking requests from people. I was like, "Can you make my podcast as a intro, like, so I could use that?" And that's how that came about. But if you listen to the beat a little bit, Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy kind of like the you know what I mean?
The Hardy Boys.
Yes, the Hardy Boys, kind of a throwback there.
Yeah, great tune there. Great intro music for sure.
Thank you.
Money well spent.
Yes,
$20 well spent there.
Yeah. It's always hard to find a good band or somebody to create nowadays. It's so hard to get collab and find somebody that can throw a track, together for somebody. Yeah. Everett's done that in the past. Go ahead, Everett. Yeah, as well.
Yeah, I've thrown some intro videos together for people. I've done
for me as well.
Done a lot for David because he would hit me up and say, "Hey, can you do this? Can you do that?" And he gives me stuff to work with, and I work with it, and I send it back to him, and he lets me know if he likes it or not. And most of the time, he likes it. So I haven't had a dud yet. So a pat on the back there.
That's the best thing about this community is people working together, helping one another, supporting one another, collaborating. Yeah, that's the best thing.
It is. It's so great.
Everett, how about that?
For Jonah, right there in the middle. There he is.
Yes.
The guest of honor.
Yes, you have to do that. Well, let me ask you this, Johners. What made you get into podcasting? As a fan, let's start off with wrestling. What got you into wrestling? This is all about wrestling as well. So
of course. I first saw wrestling through the TV screen back in probably the mid to late 80s, believe it or not. And yes, I know I look in my mid 20s, but I'm actually in my mid 40s. But every Saturday afternoon over here in the UK, we would have a sports show on the TV called World of Sport. And at a particular time, every Saturday afternoon, they would put on British wrestling. that would, in the future be called World of Sport Wrestling. But this British wrestling in the mid-80s with the likes of Big Daddy and Giant Haystacks and all the greats, Johnny Saint, Marty Jones, I could go on and on, were there in front of me. And I would watch it around my nans, my grandmothers. And she'd be there shouting at the TV, waving her walking stick at the bad guys through the TV screen. And I was thinking, what is this? What have I stepped into? Normally my nanny's a mild-mannered, well-spoken, old lady. And when the wrestling came on, she turned into an animal. It was unrecognizable. So it captured my imagination straight away. Then World of Sport stopped airing on ITV over here in the UK. And then the next opportunity to see any sort of wrestling was over at a friend of mine's. We would play in his back garden soccer, football, and then we'd go into his house for a break, and he'd have these VHS tapes of WWF. And he'd have tapes from 89, 99, Coliseum. A lot of it recorded off the TV as well. It was recorded off of Sky Sports. That would be pretty much the only place you could see WWF over here without buying the Coliseum or Silvervision tapes. And one in particular, one in particular was, do you remember when Jake the Snake Roberts, he had Macho Man tied up in the ropes, he had the King Cobra, he latches it onto Macho Man's arm, you see the blood trickle down his bicep, and once again I had this kind of out-of-body experience thinking, wow, I got to learn more, I got to know more, and from there I was hooked. So you could say that I've become a full-time wrestling fan since about 1991. And I mean, my fandom continued.
Going to your first event as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was probably only a few months later that the WWF would tour. The same friends and his dad had some tickets. They invited me along, which was amazing. Got to see, some fantastic classics like the British Bulldog, Ted DiBiase, Bret Hart was there, the Mountie, Ric Flair, so all the greats, Big Boss Man. But I think it was probably my second ever live wrestling show that I went to. Amazingly, was in the summer of 1992, and I was there at Wembley Stadium for SummerSlam 1992. That amazing event that still gets spoken about, in all of its glory today. It was a fantastic day in London, beautiful weather, nearly 90,000 people in that stadium. And at the time, that was the biggest WWF attendance of all time, even outshadowing WrestleMania 3, although they would never admit it. And then, of course, that main event, Bret Hart versus Davey Boy Smith for the Intercontinental Championship. I was there. And when the 3 count happened, you knew that you'd seen a classic.
It's like me, WrestleMania 5. I was at
really?
5. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but phenomenal. And like I say, from there, just onwards and upwards, the Attitude Era. When I first started watching wrestling, I was maybe 14, 15. By the Attitude Era, I was late teens, early 20s. And I was heavily into ECW as well around the mid to late 90s. So the Attitude Era fell perfectly, in kind of in with my love of ECW and the more adult type of wrestling, the hardcore, But what ECW also gave us was it introduced so many different styles to North American wrestling, from the Japanese style, the lucha influence, the technical style, the hardcore deathmatch style. Amazing storylines, fantastic characters, a really, really hot crowd. So ECW took my fandom to the next level, the Attitude Era to the next level, and so on and so forth. But I did have a span of maybe about 8 years where I didn't really watch much wrestling, where I was concentrated on my career and getting married, moving house, having kids, and then from about 2010. I kind of was pulled back in again because a friend of mine went over to see WrestleMania that year. It would have been WrestleMania 26. So that would have been Career versus Streak, The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels in their rematch from the classic from the previous year. But from 2010 back in full time, hook, line, and sinker.
And now until now, we got AEW and just
Exactly.
the works. It's phenomenal.
So, in a nutshell, that's kind of my my wrestling fandom. I was lucky enough, fortunate enough to go to the States, to go to New Orleans in 2018 for WrestleMania 34. It would have been then, and that was incredible.
Oh, cool.
So spent 5 days out there. Went out there by myself. But of course, when you're out there with, 100,000 wrestling fans, you're never by yourself. Especially with the party atmosphere down Bourbon Street. Incredible. And that's the 5 days that I'll never, ever forget. And hopefully we'll hope to experience something like that again in the future. But in a nutshell, that's my wrestling fandom. But because currently I'm more into UK indie wrestling.
Yes,
I travel the country, watch a lot of shows, but I'm sure we'll get into that. But that's kind of my wrestling journey as a fan, anyway.
Oh man, Everett, you want to collab with that? That's pretty. Go ahead.
That's amazing, man. I love that. You've been all over the place, pretty much to witness, wrestling. Going to a WrestleMania, that's cool. You two, both of you have that in common, right there. Being able to go to WrestleMania.
But you've been to AEW, haven't you? Or no? What did you do? You did something.
Yes, I went to AEW when they first had remember when they did the first 2 months of like free pay-per-views they had? The Fighter Fest. It was here in Daytona Beach. I was there.
Fight for the Fallen was the other one, yeah.
Yeah. I was here for Fighter Fest when it came to Daytona Beach. That's where Sean Spears got the nickname Chairman, because that's where he came out, and I seen that live. And I'm a little bit old school when I watch wrestling, because when they had who was it? Nyla Rose, when she went up against the former AEW Women's Champion, not
was it Rio?
Rio, and there was someone else, and having someone that size lose to too small. That right there, the crowd were looking at me. I was flipping out and stuff. I was like standing up. I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" People's looking at me like, "What's with this guy?" And I'm just like going off on. My wife's like, "Calm down." I'm like, "I'm not gonna calm down." I was like, "She should have squashed him." This match went on too. I was just going on, and people's looking at me like I was crazy, and like I was like, "I don't care, man." But the rest of the show, I had a good time. But I did see AEW. And then I seen in 2014, I was in Tampa for Battleground. I was there for that. And I was also in 2015, went to New York, and I was at the Barclays Center for SummerSlam. Nice. And that's when Taker and Lesnar were in the main event. That's where Brock sitting there laughing, and then Taker turns around and does that. Yeah, right there. I was like, the entranceway was like here. And then you got the ring here. I was out like on the corner, like right there. I mean, barely at the corner. But then the following night, I was back at the Barclays Center behind where, in front of the hard cam for Monday Night Raw. That's where Sting showed up, and he started it's rolling into the Clash of Champions where Sting wrestled Rollins. Yeah, was that
the Raw where Sting came out of the box? And his face paint was kind of falling off of his face because he got so hot standing in that box for so long.
Yes, and I'll tell you from the crowd's point of view. From the crowd's point of view, the two things that happened that night: Sting, when they were bringing it out because they were cutting to commercial. It's neat to see what they do when they're cutting to commercial on for a live TV show, and they bring this thing out, and people's like, what are they bringing out? And someone said, I think someone's in there. And we were like looking, trying to figure it out. It was like, yeah, someone's in there. I mean, of course, someone's in there. Someone's going to jump out. Surprise. We didn't know, but that was a big surprise, getting to see Sting in person. And then the second surprise was that night was the debut of Braun Strowman. because from that point of view, when the lights went out and then we saw this big figure jump up, we're like, what the heck? It's just, it spooked us, man. We didn't do all of a sudden we seen this big figure jump up on ringside, like boom, right there. And we're like,
okay, it's like me, Everett. I'm gonna go right into it also, John, as well. SummerSlam. I was at a SummerSlam, and it was the year that Triple H was just making his comeback. Like he broke his knee, and oh my God, I was like, all right, the robotic animation was on the screen, and here comes Triple H. I totally forgot about that. and to see Stone Cold out ringside too, celebrating with Carlito and all these other guys drinking beer, win one of their matches.
Yeah. Wow. What year was that? How long ago was that?
Oh, I can't even ever go back. SummerSlam. Geez.
Early 2000s, maybe mid 2000s.
Yes, it was at the Giant Stadium, not Giant Stadium, Prudential Center.
Right.
Prudential Center. So, because I know I was there for No Way Out as well when CM Punk and Jericho went at it, or somebody was in there. Was it Big Show in the cage? Laurinaitis,
right?
John, that guy or whatever he was,
John Laryngitis is Enzo would call him. Big Johnny, I'm up in the cage now.
Yeah, God, that character. Remember that guy? Oh my gosh, that guy didn't last that long. That character.
He's behind the scenes, David. You know that. He was on TV, but he's back behind the scenes now.
I didn't even know that. See.
Yeah, I seen him in person at Monday Night Raw in Orlando. Me and my friend Tommy went to Monday Night Raw there in 2016, I think it was. Yeah, 2015, and we were there at the Amway Center in Orlando, and we were over right behind the announcer section there. And so we went over to go to the bathroom, and on our way back, there's Johnny right there on the cell phone. And someone goes, it's John Laurinaitis. And then someone's just yelling, Big Johnny. And then, of course, I did my impression, and he looked, and he took off, man. He's like, he's trying to talk on the phone, and he got people yelling, Big Johnny.
Let me ask you this, John. Who have you met? Wrestler wise?
Oh wow,
man, we could go over the list. There's so many of our pictures, and you know what I mean.
Well, I went to WrestleCon in 2018, and that was pretty cool. And I had 2 sessions there. One session on the Friday, one session on the Saturday. The first guest that I met, and I've got to say this, one of my all-time favorites, the Nature Boy Ric Flair, and he was there, and he was probably about a month after his health scare where he's in hospital, when he had all these heart difficulties around 2017, 2018, and he was a bit of a question mark as to whether he was going to be there at WrestleCon that year, and he was. He looked a little bit frail, but we had a bit of a chat and signed an autograph and a couple of photos together. That was pretty cool. Mick Foley as well, Kenny Omega, Ron Simmons, Bret Hart. The list goes on and on and on. And I mean, as far as more recent times, and I'm sure we'll touch on this, but I've been fortunate enough to do a lot of backstage work at some of the UK indies here over in the UK. Recently, I've met Tajiri, so another legend of the business, which is pretty cool. Jonathan Gresham, Jordan Grace.
Actually, that Tajiri video was really great. When that podcast you did like that, you're like, he's looking at you.
He ribbed me pretty good on that one. He ribbed me. So if people aren't familiar, obviously I'm at this show in Cheltenham over here in the UK, doing backstage interviews, and Tajiri is in the main event. But at kind of the interval, he gets his promo pics done, and then I'm kind of by the cameraman. I'll wave him over. We do the backstage interview. I said, look, talk about your opponent, talk about your match, whatever. He never said a word until we said, right, we're rolling. And I asked him the initial question, what's his thoughts on his opponent tonight? Nothing but Japanese. I played it cool. I tried to be the professional that I am. I asked him a follow-up question, nothing but Japanese. So he could have been talking about what he had for lunch that day.
Absolutely.
He could have been bashing his opponent. He could have been, saying things about me. I don't know. I still don't know what he said, but it was a rib on me. It was fantastic.
To see him though, that's like a legend of ECW. Like, you're like, wow, I'm here with
Japanese
Tajiri,
man. Yeah, that's amazing, man. I just recently was listening to Talk is Jericho, and I went back to the episode I missed where he had William Regal on, and when I'm listening to Regal talk about his wrestling career, I think back when they put Tajiri and Regal together. They worked so good together, both those guys, man. It was great.
Yeah,
but
he had Japanese football, man. He's a legend, man. He is.
And John, who else were you saying? Behind the scenes,
Jonathan Gresham. I've met him.
Fantastic
recently,
guy.
Backstage at show. Jordan Grace as well. Both wrestling over here in the UK. I think it was about October or November last year. Fantastic individuals. Really, really nice.
Chemistry is their chemistry in the ring. Total talents right there.
Yeah, of course, Jonathan Gresham, the Ring of Honor World Champion, but now he's just recently become the Progress Wrestling World Champion over here in the UK as well. Obviously, Progress are affiliated with WWE. I've met hundreds of international talent and hundreds of UK talent. And another guy that I spoke to quite recently was Axel Titcher, who was formerly Alexander Wolf of Imperium in NXT, and what was the group he was with?
Sanity.
Yes.
Yeah, Eric Young. It was Killian Dane, Alexander Wolf, Eric Young, and then
Nikki ASH, Nikki Cross. Yeah. And that was a good faction that I thought they could have and should have done more with. But I had a good chat with Axel Titcher backstage at a show a couple of months back. And after we did the interview, we actually spoke about Walter and his name change. And Axel and Walter, really, really good friends. And of course, Axel's spoken to Walter about the name change. And Axel said, look, Walter's not fazed by it at all. As far as he's concerned, it's all business. It's all to do with trademarking. They wanted to trademark Walter. He didn't want it. So they had to come up with different names. But he says, at the end of the day, as long as he's still allowed to do what he's been doing for the last 15, 20 years in the ring, and that's smashing people, chopping them to pieces, power bombing them, and making people cry between those ropes, then, he's going to get over regardless. And what the name and what the buzz surrounding the name change did was it kind of made him even more over, to be honest with you, than he was before, because everybody was talking about him. So people who didn't know about Walter or Gunther beforehand certainly did.
Walter was popular, man. He really took the world by storm. Like you said, Progress, WXW, and just other promotions. Beyond Wrestling and brought him in. I think Beyond brought him in one time, I believe. I think they did. I can't remember if they did or not, or somebody did. Oh no, it was the blood sport. What's it called?
Josh Barnett.
Yes, Josh Barnett brought him in.
Yeah,
I remember that.
But you think of Walter, and he's got himself into fantastic physical conditions. And he's always a beast, always a big guy, but he's kind of trimmed down. And you can imagine that if he does get called up to the main roster, can you imagine the matches? Brock Lesnar, for example. Can you imagine Walter versus Brock Lesnar? That's a dream match of dream matches. So that Roman Reigns versus Walter or Gunther. I keep calling him by his old name, but he is a specimen, and he's doing some good stuff in NXT over in the US, of course. Some good talent out there for sure.
Yeah, talking about name change, I want to throw this in here real quick, if you don't mind, David.
Yeah,
He done Butch.
Pete Dunne, yeah. So I've seen Pete Dunne wrestle many times as Pete Dunne, which is the only name he's ever gone by up until the last couple of weeks. And I think he's even said on a recent podcast. So Mark Andrews, who is a NXT UK star, he's got a podcast, and I think Pete Dunne's been on it recently. And a similar situation, Pete Dunne says, "Look, it's a change. I've been Pete Dunne for the last 7 or 8 years." And as long as I'm still allowed to do what I've always done in the ring, and that's hurt people with, the moveset that I've created over the last however many years, then what's the name? In 6 months' time, people are going to be, calling him by his current name, Butcher, not Pete Dunne. So it's not going to make any difference. And we've seen wrestlers come and go with different names, different personas, and after a short period of time, you get used to it, don't you? Really, and it's not the best name I would have chosen for a Pete Dunne, but who knows? Things change, don't they? And we get used to individuals with different names. But at the end of the day, he's a phenomenal athlete, a phenomenal talent. I'm as a Brit, and Pete Dunne is a fellow Brit. I'm just happy to see him doing well over stateside on the main roster now, and being rewarded for his years of hard work. And I think that's the most important thing. And now it's down to him to make it work on the big stage, and I'm sure he will.
Yeah, Pete Dundee's really come a long way. And also, one of my friends, actually, I have a couple guys who are NXT guys. Joe Gacy.
Nice.
And Drew Gulak, of course.
Yeah.
Are on the main, I think on NXT roster as well. And then the referee, I have a referee friend, Orange. He used to be Bandito Jr. for local independent wrestling.
Yeah,
nice.
But the way I see it is, if you're a talent, if you're talented, then it doesn't matter what you're called, because the talent will always shine through, regardless of what you're called. So Gunter, Butch, they're not the best of names, but it's the talent of the people inside that counts.
NXT has changed a lot of people now. You look at it now, like right, Everett. Everett will fill me in once in a while, like. I'm more of the AEW style that, me and Everett collabed, and we were just like, you know what, we love it, WWE, but sometimes we'll just come back and shut down. And we like how AEW has a lot of the independent wrestlers from a lot of promotions that we know in our areas of, Florida to New Jersey to even UK, you know what I mean? Just like all over the world.
Yeah. I like a lot of the wrestlers in AEW, I've seen them on the indies. I'm pretty much familiar with a lot of them. And I did used to watch NXT UK up until the pandemic. And then I fell off from watching it because one of my favorite things that happened in NXT UK was when all of a sudden the Undisputed Errors show up and went against, that was something right there. Unexpected. Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, and Kyle O'Reilly showing up.
I was there when it happened.
Yeah. You were there.
So that was, I think, NXT TakeOver Blackpool 2 at the beginning of 2020, so January 2020. And I was there when Undisputed Era, and obviously Imperium Walter, he just retained his championship, was facing the hard cam, celebrating. They're all there doing their pose. And then from behind, out of nowhere, out of the shadows, you got Cole, Fish, O'Reilly. I don't know if Strong was there. He probably was, came in and took down Imperium. But I was there when that happened. A hell of an occasion. A hell of a pop.
Actually, you saw, Bobby, right? Wasn't that the one you told me? It was in the back when you were at a show also? He was at the show.
That was a few years ago there. But Bobby Fish. Okay, before AEW, I think it was New Japan did a collaboration with. It's called I think it's CEO Gaming. I think it is. They have like the video game event. They had it here in Daytona, and New Japan Wrestling. You know which one I'm talking about there, John?
Yes.
So New Japan partnered with them, and it was neat because they're at the Ocean Center over on Beachside. The way they have it set up. When you walk in, you go over to the right side, you go over there and you see all video games, everything going on, tournaments. You have people in there doing Street Fighter 2 tournaments. You have all that. You go across over to the left side, you got wrestling going on. So you have two things. So it's like, go check out some video games, play some video games. And then at this time, they're going to have wrestling. And it was great because they aired it on Twitch. And if I can ever find it, I like to go back and watch it again because it was great because they had one of the events, one of the matches. It was the Gorillas of Destiny, and they went up against was it Finley's son? What is his name?
David Finley.
David Finley, and I forget who else was tagging with him. But
it's usually Juice Robinson. Are they Finn Juice?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, it was, John. It was Juice Robinson and David Finley going up against Gorillas of Destiny. Yeah. They started brawling up we were about 5 rows up. They came 5 rows up and almost came towards us there. And I forget, I think Tonga was pounding like David into the bleachers, and we're sitting there. There's people about spilling their beers and stuff, and we're sitting there, and everyone's like, getting into it. And there was a moment of silence, and all of a sudden I said out, because he's selling it, like, oh, I just got stomped. All of a sudden I looked over, I said, his name is Finley and he loves to fight. And then everyone started laughing. Yeah. David was kind of like, what? Give me this look like you're like quoting my father, he's like I'm David Finley, giving it look like I'm David Finley, not fit, but it was just a moment. I was like I had like couple tall boys in me, so I'm like just gunpowder at the mouth, so I said that. But what David said was, met a guy there who was sitting right next to us. He came in from Cocoa because he was down for vacation, and his wife let him come over to Daytona to see wrestling. And he wanted to go down and get a picture with Gorillas of Destiny. I was like, yeah, I'll walk down there with you. I'll hold the camera for you and stuff. He's like, oh, thank you. So we walk down there and we walk around the corner, and he says, right there out in the open, right there up against the bleachers was Bobby Fish. And he was NXT at this time still. And he said, I like to get a picture with Bobby Fish. I said, well, go over there and approach him. He's like, well, he was talking at the time. I think he was talking to Chase Owens. So he was about to walk over there, and we were about to walk over there, and a guy walks by, and he looked, and I'm like, don't look back. Don't look. He did double take. I'm like, oh no. All two look backs. As soon as that second time he looked again, he stopped, and he was like, Bobby Fish. People
proud. Yeah.
I'm like, thanks a lot, man. And then he signed some autographs, took a couple pictures, and he hightailed it to the back. I'm like, thank you. It's like
damn.
It's like I was so mad, and the guy was like, oh man. And I was like, when the guy walked by, who basically was like, oh, Bobby Fish. He walked by. I said, nice going, Mark. I was pissed. Yes. I was pissed for the guy because I wanted him to take a picture with him, and then he blew it. It took one person to blow that moment, man. And I was like, he came down from Cocoa Beach.
There's always somebody. There's always somebody in the crowd that's doing that nowadays. It's ridiculous,
It just takes one person. It takes one person. If someone's like hanging out, not casual, and then when that person gets recognized, boom, man, it's just like, wow. It's like he was there with this hot blonde. I don't know if that was his wife or his girlfriend though, but
your model.
I don't know, man. She looked good, and he grabbed her and they hightailed it to the back. But
have you ever? Let me ask you this, John. You ever go to a show and there was like a riot? Like I've been to Game Changers. There's been riot. I've been to CZW when they have chairs flying.
Really?
I've had the run-ins.
Nothing that extreme. I'd say that I was at NXT UK Takeover Cardiff, and they had a last man standing match between Dave Mastiff and Joe Coffey, and that went through the crowd, and pretty much they kind of went through the whole seating area, all 360 around the ring, and they came very close to me and over by the commentators, and they were throwing chairs around and crashing through tables off of the staging. So that was pretty wild, but obviously that was, you know, a wrestling match, not a riot. But I've not had the pleasure of seeing a riot at a wrestling show or anything like that.
Yeah, I've been to the riots, and they run around and be, holy shit, there's a chair flying, I better duck, you know, better move out of the way or something, you know. It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. I took my mom to a local wrestling promotion. It's here. It's not running right now, but when I took her, my mom would get into it, man. God rest her soul. My mom was getting into it. She'd stand up and say, kick him, punch him, just getting into it. My 78-year-old mother. And they had a ladder match for
Everett, I'm going to excuse myself for a minute. I'm going to go.
Okay. But John, they had they were promoting, setting up on the main event. They were setting up to where they had a ladder match for like the following week, which I wasn't able to go to, but they came through the crowd. And as soon as they came through the crowd right there, my mom's yelling and saying, "You leave him alone." And the workers got a kick out of my mom that night because she's getting into it. And one of them was almost broke kayfabe because they were getting a kick out of my mother because of how much she was getting into watching the show. And as soon as they grabbed the ladder, she's like, "You put that ladder back. You put the waving the finger. You put that ladder back."
Yeah. Well, it's the same as when I was talking about my nan, my grandma back in the 80s, waving a walking stick at the TV. And when I used to go to wrestling shows in the early to mid 90s, at the town hall in Oxford, which is where I grew up. I'd be watching up kind of in the balcony, and you'd see all these old people ringside that'd be shaking their newspapers, their rolled up newspapers or their walking stick at the bad guys. And so I'm glad to hear that it's not just a British thing with old people and bad guys, but and it's amazing, you know, how wrestling kind of it captivates, and you know, all ages, you know, young and old. So you know, and it lives on today because, you know, wrestlers are there to entertain, good or bad, and it does. I think that's why we're still massive wrestling fans decades on, basically.
Yeah, I agree. My father, I can relate there with you too. My father was a big Dusty Rhodes fan. He loved the American Dream. He would cuss and yell at the TV when Ric Flair come on TV. He could not stand Ric Flair. He looked at me. He said, "If World War III breaks out and all is left on this earth would be cockroaches and Ric Flair," because he didn't like him that much back when he was feuding with Dusty. And Jim Cornette, oh my goodness, me and my brother, we got a kick out of that because he wished someone to take that racket from Cornette and hit him upside the head. He would yell and say, "Someone take that racket from him." He'd jump up and yell and holler at the TV. He's like, "He's cheating, ref! He's cheating, ref!" You know, using the tennis racket, man. And yeah, that's I relate right there with you because I seen it growing up with my father and my mom getting into it, watching wrestling there. And it's not a Brit thing. So
it's the greatest sport. It's the greatest form of entertainment I've ever known, to be honest with you. And you know, you can talk about all the great sports, American football, soccer, rugby, you know, you name it. But American wrestling, pro wrestling, it's got everything you need in a sport and entertainment. So yeah, I think I'll love it till the day I die. But yes, like I say, 30 years as a wrestling fan, going strong. How long have you been a wrestling fan for?
I've been watching it since I was about 5 years old. I've been watching it that long, and I watched all the way up until I watched wrestling all the way up until probably about after WrestleMania, I think it was 5. I think it was because that was when the Mega Powers were the main event. They had that big feud with the Mega Powers. Pretty much after that, didn't watch wrestling for a while because my stepmom, she got out of, getting my dad to watch it. And the only time I'd find out about wrestling was I'd go over to my friend's house, and I'd go over there on Saturday morning, and they would watch Superstars. And of course, hearing about, Undertaker debuting, and then Hulk Hogan, losing the title at Survivor Series that one year. And I think it was 90 or
91, wasn't it? So, yeah.
Yeah. So seeing that happen right there, that I mean, just hearing it and then finally seeing it is like, wow. But from that time all the way up until I was a senior in high school around 98. That's when my senior year of high school, I see people coming to school wearing Austin 316 NWO. And my stepdad, it was funny. He's really religious, and he didn't know what NWO was. I mean, he'd sit there, and we were out and about, and he seen people wearing NWO shirts, and he looked at me, and he says, "Get ready, Denver." He's like, "Lord's coming." And I'm like, "Lord's coming." He's like, "NWO, they're here." He started freaking out. And then come to find out that had to do with wrestling. I started seeing NWO shirts and Austin
Scott Hall, man.
And I said, what is this? They're like, "You don't watch wrestling, do you?" I said, "I haven't watched it since the 80s. And they said, "You need to tune in on Monday nights." And so I flip it over to WCW, and I'm like, what is going on? I was like, Hulk Hogan's a bad guy now? What happened, man? It blew my mind.
I'll tell you what, Everett.
Diesel doing on WCW.
Tell you what, Everett. I got the chance, independent wrestling shows, and Scott Hall would come around to the shows, to local wrestling, and my God, he actually just like, you say hello to him, "Hey, yo," he does his gimmick, and it's just a great personality, man. Like and to see him actually, and also I'll never forget the time he swung a light tube at Game Changer Wrestling to Flip Gordon. Flip Gordon.
That's cool. That's cool.
It's a shame we lost him. It's what a tragic time, huh?
Yeah.
John.
What is some of your memories of Scott Hall, John? I mean, Razor Ramon, the bad guy, Scott Hall. I mean, I
think that my first memory of Scott Hall was when he was the Diamond Stud in WCW. And I don't think he was a Diamond Stud for terribly long, maybe 6 months to a year maximum. But that was pretty much the seeds of the Razor Ramon character, because when he did the promo vignettes, when he was kind of, having his meal outside or arriving in the car, and these early vignettes, it was almost like watching the Diamond Stud again. I was thinking, well, if they brought in the Diamond Stud, who's this Razor Ramon character? Then you kind of figure out that, but straight off the bat, main eventing against Bret Hart for the WWF Championship, pretty much his first feud in the company was with Bret Hart. So you knew straight away that he was destined for great things. Kind of for me though, it was a real shame that Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, he never won a world championship. I'm not sure if he won the AWA championship, because that was always classed as a world title, wasn't it? But WWF, WCW, he never won the big one. It was always the US title. It was always the Intercontinental title. But he was good enough to be a world champion with his size, his look, his awesome moves. For a big guy, he was quite dynamic. Yeah, absolutely loved him. I'm just trying to think whether I actually saw him live in the ring. I don't think I ever got to see. I did. I think I saw him twice over here in the UK. He had a match against Shane Douglas when he was the Dean Douglas character. over here in the UK. The Royal Albert Hall, I think that was 1994. And then I'm pretty sure I saw him. It was the following year, maybe 1995, the year before he jumped ship over to WCW. I can't remember who he wrestled on the second occasion, but definitely, yeah. Did he? I think there was one match. I'm sure I saw him against Macho Man, and it might have been the year prior. So Razor Ramon versus Macho Man, and then Razor Ramon versus Dean Douglas. That's not too bad, is it really? But yeah, I got to see the bad guy. Thinking back, twice in the flesh.
Look at this. What are you doing here, Everett?
Very, very happy with that.
What are you doing? You messing around?
Although he never won a world championship in a major promotion, Hall was a one-time world champion as he held the WWC Universal Heavyweight Championship.
Wow.
He did have one championship.
WWC, is that Carlos Colon's promotion in Puerto Rico? I'm not sure, but
Google it, Everett.
I got the Google going.
Yeah, but well, I've never heard of that, so I don't think many people. That's a Trivial Pursuits question. That's a trivia question.
But also, me and Everett.
Yes, you're John. You know your history, man. You're right. That's Puerto Rico professional wrestling right there. Yep, that's Yep. Carlos Colon. Yep.
I don't know that shit.
You got to search it, man. You got to search.
Yeah, I've got a brain that can't remember many things, but when it comes to wrestling, that's the only thing that sticks. To be honest with you.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
At least he had some good. He had a good run for his career. He really
absolutely, yeah. And he was a pioneer. I mean, when he first jumped over to WCW, and he was the first invader, wasn't he? The original outsider. Everybody legitimately thought, because you didn't really have the internet back then, everybody thought that. I mean, people that knew the business, knew that his contract was coming up in WWF. Knew that he was negotiating with WCW, but when he turned up and he did the Razor Ramon voice, he had the Razor Ramon toothpick and look and the hey yo, everybody thought that a lot of people thought it was an invasion, and that's how they played it out.
Speaking about him, and me and Everett have had this conversation before. We were talking about Jim Johnson's version of Razor Ramon. Actually, go ahead, Everett. As we were talking about,
you want me to tell you the Razor story? Okay.
Yeah.
Like when me and David were talking about, the loss of Scott Hall, there was another loss also the weekend, a few days before Scott Hall passed away. And that man was Hurricane JJ McGuire, the true master of wrestling ring music. He collaborated with Jimmy Hart on a lot of the WWF themes, from Hulk Hogan's Real American to doing Shawn Michaels' Sexy Boy to the Rockers, Demolition,
Thunder in Paradise,
$1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, Jimmy Superfly Snuka. But he passed away the weekend, a few days before Scott Hall passed away, and I got to know JJ probably for about a good 4 years, and we've had conversations on and off. And one of the conversations was he did a theme for Razor Ramon that got switched at the last minute. Within the last minute, Vince was like, nope, and switched the theme. But I never did get to listen to it, and he told me about the theme, and he has it. He had it on a CD of unreleased themes that never saw the light of day, that you could only get from him when he did appearances. And there's pretty much a note in there on the liner note, and it says basically, it's like, you put this on the internet, I'm coming for your butt, man. So it's like just to hold it dear. But there is a track, unreleased Razor Ramon theme song, that they never went with. They flipped last minute. Vince said, change it, and they changed the theme.
Let me tell you this, John. I did my research and we found him. We found him on the internet, on Facebook, and we're like, let's be the first to interview. Let's get some interviews with this guy, JJ.
Well, actually, Robin Nelson was the guy. Robin Nelson was the one that connected everybody, that a lot of people with JJ. He connected me with him, and then I connected David with him, and it's a lot.
And John, what is really cool is we had this, what was it, the 1 year anniversary party. Our podcast
City Network. Yeah, David, I got a plaque over here, John. David sent to me, and my business partner, Chris Carnage. I got it framed over here. 1 year anniversary, January 26, 2019. JJ McGuire came down for the 1 year anniversary.
He played on stage for them.
He played, man. He played the Wrestling Boot Band album. I don't know if you remember that. The Wrestling Boot Band. Hulk Hogan. No?
No, it doesn't ring any bells, I'm afraid, no.
That's fine. He performed that album there, and he ended with Thunder in Paradise theme. And it was great. That's very cool. A friend of ours was sitting there, and he was just sitting there the whole time going, and he said, man, this is like the greatest performance I've seen in forever. And he was just so in awe. And this is a guy who listens to hard, heavy rock metal, almost death metal. And he was so blown away and amazed by JJ McGuire performing.
But I'll tell you what, JJ's stories, the way that he told his career, hanging out with Jimmy Hart and Hulk Hogan, driving that Viper, for WCW, that's, my gosh, come on.
He had a good career. He did. I mean, meeting Jimmy and the Gentrys, and then getting with Jerry Lawler, getting into wrestling that way, like how Jimmy did. And
he had a love for cars. He had a love for cars also. That's why I say the Viper was his favorite. Actually, would you say that they took that out of the museum?
Hogan's Beach Shop. Yeah, remember that, David? I was telling you about that. Yeah. So what happened, John, was they had it there. Hogan had it in Orlando at his beach shop in Orlando, and I went there with JJ when he came down, when he was down for the 1 year anniversary. I went with him over there, and he's telling me about the Viper, and I said, I remember this from when you drove it. And he said, I'm the one who drove it. Jimmy was supposed to drive it. Jimmy couldn't drive stick, so he ended up the one driving because he drives. He drives.
Is this the Hulkamania red and yellow Viper? Is that right? Is that the one?
Yeah, that's the one that I think it was last year, a couple years ago. Hulk did a good thing. He auctioned it off charity.
Do you have a picture of it? Do you have a picture of it?
I would have to look for it, but he auctioned off his Viper for a charity, a kids charity, and I forget the name of the charity, but the kids charity has to do with kids that's lost legs. So he auctioned it off for that right there. The money and the proceeds when he auctioned it off went to that charity, which I thought was great. To help out. Great.
That's pretty classy. Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, JJ was and also he was actually a promoter. He ran a wrestling promotion in Kentucky.
He was part of a wrestling promotion.
Yeah,
he didn't run it. He was kayfabe. He was the face of the company. Hope no one from that promotion's watching. Oops. So, but yeah, he was great. It was good promotion, but a lot of backstage politics happened, but that's a different story. I don't want to get into that there, but
no.
Besides that, I don't have we asked David, have we asked John about how he started his network? We haven't, have we?
Yeah, no, let's do that. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's do that. John.
Yes.
Go ahead, David.
Go ahead.
Let's talk about the Johners. Am I saying it right? Johners?
Johners, yeah. So the thing is, Johners should have two N's in it. Yeah. So it should be JOHNNERS. But I'm thinking, well, let's make it unique. Let's make it individual. It will be my name with an ERS at the end. So it is Johners, but with just one N, not two. And I like to say that Johners with one N fits better on a t-shirt. So that's kind of the way I like to explain it. But it is Johners. You've got that right. But as for the Johners podcasting network, I mean, currently it's grown to about 49, 50 shows. We did have 50 shows, and then one's kind of dropped out, so back down to 49. But
sometimes it happens. That's what happens.
It does, unfortunately. Right. But we've built up the network since January last year. So in the space of just over a year, we've built up this collection of fantastic content creators, hosts, and podcasters, YouTubers from all over the world. And it started originally just with my own podcast, Wrestling with Johners, which is about 3.5 years in now, but would have been about 2 years in when we started the network. And the original idea behind the network was to help grassroots podcasts, so brand new shows, or to give people that have helped me with my show a platform and an opportunity to start their own show, and to help build the network that way. So it maybe started off.
That's how I got in touch with Everett Lee. That's how we started, right, Everett, as well.
Yeah.
The way you started Johners reminds me of how me and Chris started a podcasting network. Almost similarities there, but Johners is wrestling based, correct?
The majority is wrestling based. Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
Okay. Because same thing with podcasting network. I've been podcasting since 2014.
Right.
And I went through like 3 name changes. And so the last time in 2016, I went with Everett Lee's show. So I decided to do Everett Lee, and I tried to join like networks to, with my show. It don't have the numbers. You're not what we're looking for. The door slam. I said, you know what? I'm tired of this. So I said to Chris, I said, this is happening so many times. I'm done with this. And he's like, so what are you going to do? I said, you know what? Let's start our own network.
Yeah.
Let's give people an opportunity like us. And let's have them who close the doors on us, let them come knocking on our door.
Absolutely.
And Chris was like, all right, let's do it. So we got
exactly the same mindset with me and what I've started to do. And as we started to get a bit of traction and people started thinking, oh, what's this Johners network, Johners podcasting network thing I keep hearing about? And we've attracted some relatively well-known wrestling podcasts to the network. We've gone out and we've kind of invited podcasts to the network, but fundamentally at its
and also thank you for letting me join as well.
of course, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you on board. But fundamentally, it's always been about supporting and trying to build the community, the podcasting community, the content creating community, with a collaborative mindset. So amongst the 49, 50 hosts and podcasters, we try to talk and work together as a family. So if anybody needs any support, any assistance, whether it be graphics, whether it be overlays for live streaming, whether it be music, whether it be guests, for example, or just advice and sharing best practice, that somebody in amongst the 40, 50 hosts will have the answer if you're stuck in the mud about something. So we've created this network based on, good, honest, legitimate reasons for creating this network. And it's a free network to join, it's a free network to listen to and to be a part of, and it's all about kind of helping and supporting one another to build each other's brands and content, and to build and help the wider community. Essentially,
that's what Everett, that's what we're all about at Podcast.
Podcast Network, same thing, man. This is amazing, man. It's same idea, man. I love this. It's
Everett,
brilliant.
You and him are gonna have to we're gonna collab after this. Well, we'll talk off the private chat for business.
I'm sure there's something we can do together. For sure.
I always say that, right, Everett?
Let me, because I'm really interested. I have a few questions, David, if you don't mind. I want to ask John because I'm really interested. Okay, John. Now, what shows that when someone jumps on your network, what shows should they check out? I mean, what sticks out? Like if I jump on Johnner's network, and I've never been on there before.
Pull it up.
What?
We could actually. There's a list.
Yeah, no. Well, I can guide you
pull it up, but
absolutely. There's one podcast that you should jump on. I'll probably mention a few, but there's a UK podcast called the Tea and Tights Wrestling Podcast, and it's two guys, the host Andrew and Dave, and they are experts in UK independent wrestling. They go to all the shows, they preview the shows, they talk about the shows. They have UK indie wrestlers on their shows, and they really are very, very knowledgeable about the business, about the UK scene. So the Tea and Tights Wrestling Podcast is a good one to jump on. We've got Straight Talk Wrestling, George McKay from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and he is just what he doesn't know about wrestling isn't worth knowing at all. He's interviewed the biggest and the best podcasters, wrestlers from around the world. We've also got live wrestling on there as well. At the top, you will notice Lucha Libre and Laughs, which is a Denver, Colorado-based promotion.
Where's the link set? I think it's like right there, that one dot, right? Yeah.
So if you go to the top of the website, you'll see all the links there. There you go. So if you hover over podcasts,
wow,
you've got everything, all the channels there.
There.
And not forgetting, of course, Wrestling with Johners, which is mine. I think I'm just about to do episode 232 on Tuesday. So that'll be a live stream with Level X, or the international superstars. Blanco Loco, Dream Girl Ellie, and Axton Ray will be on the show. They're in the middle of a UK tour at the moment.
The fantastic guests. I've had them on. They're great people. You're going to have a fun conversation.
So looking forward to speaking to them. But there's a whole collection of amazing content creators from around the world. Yes, I've been dropping stuff recently. You can see one of my interviews there from a while ago. We've also got music on there from an up-and-coming UK British rapper and music producer called Half Decent. So we do mix it up a little bit. It's not entirely wrestling, but we've got a really good mix of wrestling, live wrestling interviews, previews, reviews, watch-alongs, you name it, and you can pretty much find it on the Johners Podcasting Network.
Man,
I know this one right here.
Oh, I know. Yes.
Tag. I've heard of that one. Yeah,
absolutely. Tornado Tag with Anthony Blackwell there.
And you know, probably know the other one with my friend Rob, the Rob Pop,
the Bob Culture podcast with Rob Williams. Yeah, great guy.
Yeah, I have to collab with him soon. There's a couple guys we have to.
The Bob Culture podcast.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And what you've got with the Johners Podcasting Network is you don't just have the latest episodes. When we bring you onto the network, we download, or we kind of have at your fingertips your entire back catalogue from day one in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. So if you're an audio and video podcast, you can benefit from being a part of the Johners Podcasting Network, because we show both your audio podcasts, your audio episodes, and your video podcasts as well. So everything you could possibly want from a podcaster will be included. We've got merchandise there. We got articles. Yeah.
Articles.
So yeah, there's some pretty cool stuff.
That's awesome.
I love this, man. This is cool.
Have you seen our website, John?
I have not. I've neglected to check it out, but I'm going to have to.
We'll go right now, Everett.
David, I want to check. I'm having a good time here, David.
Okay. All right.
Okay. All right. You're the host. I'll pull up. Here we go.
Our site.
Yeah. Let me go ahead and I'll
But I hope
pull
you
up.
liked what you saw there. And
Oh, yeah.
there's so much.
We'll talk off.
There's weeks and
You got
weeks
a
of
lot of-
entertainment there
You got a lot of content there. You have a lot of content there, John.
for sure.
You do. That's amazing.
John, what made you want to get into podcasting yourself? Like as a what?
Well,
as, you know,
I became a huge fan of wrestling podcasts around about 2012, 2013. Got really, really into the Steve Austin podcast, Jericho's podcast.
What?
And then when 2016 came around, you had Conrad Thompson came onto the scene with Bruce Pritchard and Something to Wrestle.
Yeah.
And that's kind of when I would listen to every single episode of theirs. I thought that every story they told about all the highs and the lows of WWF from back in the day was completely captivating, and it really, really drew me in. And I thought, well, you know, I used to speak for a living in meetings and conferences, so I knew that I had a bit of a voice. Definitely got the enthusiasm and the passion for wrestling, and a bit of knowledge behind it as well. So I thought, yeah, why not? Let's kind of try it myself. What is there to lose? You know, even if you get
like
one
us.
or two listeners, you know, that's
Yep,
one or two
that's
listeners
us.
that you wouldn't
That's
have
how we
had,
did it.
so-
We struggle. Yep, we struggled.
Absolutely. But I was inspired mostly when I went to New Orleans in 2018, and when I came back, I thought, yeah, this is the time to strike, you know, that's what I did. I started in 2018 and haven't looked back since. But it was being a fan of podcasts that really kind of lit the fire to start off with.
Go ahead.
But this looks like a fantastic website.
Here we go. Yes, go ahead, Everett.
Chris Carnage and some of my input right there into the website here. On the front page, we got all the shows there.
And we also have Chris
have-
is also known for a sports podcast called Final Scores, which is over how many K subscribers on YouTube? My God,
on
yeah,
on his Facebook page. Yeah, they got like 10K on his on
that's
his
crazy, John.
Yeah, it is. Hey, let's check out this one called Deathmatch Wrestle Podcast.
Millions of times have we gone here. Yeah, it's just the same stuff. That's beautiful.
Yep,
beautiful stuff.
Yeah, we got information at the beginning of the podcast. A little bit of input on the podcast, and then word audio platforms you can listen to. We put up like the latest episode, and then below it we got like a audio player from all the archives. There's David's there, and
Everett has his own shows, of course.
Yeah, I got the Everett Lee show.
Everett loves to he loves independent filmmakers. He loves that.
Filmmakers got me started. They were my first interview. Steve Austin, like you, John. Steve Austin got me, interested in doing podcast. And then one of the first interview I landed was with the independent film director, Jack Thomas Smith. Jack Thomas Smith was doing promoting a movie called Infliction. Is loosely based on a true story about two brothers in South Carolina that kind of go on a killing spree. So he was promoting that at the time. He followed me on Twitter. I followed him back. He messaged me directly, said, "Hey, want to do an interview?" I was like, "Sure." So I always get independent filmmakers on. And I mean, back when I was starting out, I was talking a lot about with WWE, but then I got more introduced into the independent wrestling scene, and I fell more in love with that because I started falling out of watching WWE. I fell out of that right there.
David helped throw you into a loop of wrestling from IWTV, and he got hooked.
Well, yes. What happened was Ripper Blackheart. During the pandemic, man, I called the pandemic a bad ex-girlfriend that was there, but you don't want to talk about it, yeah, because it was a bad year for everyone around the world. But I watched the Fanless WrestleMania, and my favorite match out of WrestleMania 30, I think it was was it 37? Is that what? No, it was 36.
So 2 years ago, 36. Yeah,
36. My favorite match was Undertaker versus AJ Styles.
the Boneyard match.
It was Dead Man's last match, and he rode off into the sunset. And I was like, this was my favorite match because I've liked Undertaker since I was a kid. And so after I watched that, that's when they moved the Peacock, and I said, and I heard Peacock was censoring everything. I was like, no, man, if they're gonna go into the Attitude Era, they're gonna have a field day because of all this.
There wouldn't be much of it left.
Right. So it threw me off because I was like, I'm not going to, they gave former, people who was already signed up from the WWE network, they gave them an option to be grandfathered into Peacock for like nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not doing this, man. So I told my wife, I said, we're canceling it. So we jumped on, we canceled it. And I was like, I'll just have to, hit YouTube, find something else. And then I found Pluto TV. I don't know if you heard of Pluto TV.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Pluto TV is basically like a cable. It's an app that you can download on Roku, Fire Stick. They even got a website, and you basically watch. They have like channels of like they got old action movie channels. They got old like 80s, 90s channels. They got a horror channel. They got different types of channels. They even got an Addams Family channel.
I think they had BBC actually was on that too.
Yeah, they also got, I do believe they got a BBC channel on there too. And they also got a Johnny Carson channel. So you can sit there and watch old Johnny Carson episodes. They have a lot. Now they got a sports section where they show boxing, MMA. They show like almost like X Games type stuff on there. They got an Impact Wrestling channel that just shows all Impact Wrestling. They even go back to the Asylum years of Impact Wrestling and show all the way up to like almost now. Well, they added a pro wrestling channel, and they were showing stuff beyond wrestling, Defy Wrestling.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is great. So
Glow Wrestling.
They would show Glow. They would even show like old matches with like Tito Santana, Kevin Sullivan, Mick Foley, Cactus Jack. They would show like little things like that. And I was like, I love this. And so that was pretty much where I was getting my wrestling fix. But then Ripper Blackheart says, hey, you need to get IWTV. I was like, what's IWTV? And so he sent me to the website. And I was like looking at all the stuff, and I saw Defiant Wrestling Beyond. I was like, I want this. So I told my wife, same amount of money a month as WWE, what we were paying, $9.99 a month. So my wife's like, all right, get it. So we got it. And then all of a sudden I told David, I got WTV. And he's like, oh, you got to look at this.
You got to catch this Game Changer Wrestling. You got to catch GCW or IWA South, IWA South, New South Wrestling. Phenomenal promotion.
Just a lot of stuff. I'm right now. I've been jumping back and forth with, different wrestling promotions. Right now, I'm into Black Label Pro and Freelance Underground right now.
Those are top good companies. I'm sure you know that, John.
Well, I know that one of the promotions over here in the UK that I do backstage reporting and backstage interviews for, Wrestle Carnival, I believe that they are on IWTV. So I'm lucky that I get the show sent to me, so I don't need to sign up to IWTV. But you've almost sold it to me, to be honest with you. I mean, it sounds like you've got a lot of content there at your fingertips for the same that you would for the WWE Network. So you've almost sold me there.
You have the West Coast. You got the West Coast. You'll be blown away. Look, John.
Yeah, look at
this, John. Wait, look at this.
They're streaming right now live. They got a live, like they stream right now, and they got upcoming shows. They got schedules for upcoming events, and
that's pretty clever.
Like what's tomorrow? The 26th, 2 p.m. They're gonna have a Vicious Pro 8 City Open on live.
And
What I love about this, my Google Calendar, John, you go over here to add calendar and I hit add Google and I get reminders every time wrestling events. My Google Calendar's filled up with wrestling shows from here, which is a great way. And they got a whole schedule going down here. They got H2O live death match down under, taking back Sunday 2. They got Limitless has an event on the 28th. New Fear City, 6 feet down under.
No Holds Barred, ICW, that one that's real popular.
ICW, Pizza Party. They got Wrestling Open. They got all the
Paragon Pro, like all the like Grindhouse and Paragon.
They got Blitzkrieg Pro on here too. I'll show you the.
That's pretty impressive, isn't it?
Is that cool? Really good. I don't think you ever. John, I'm surprised you didn't hear about it. Nobody told you. Huh?
I'm familiar with IWTV, but I've never really delved into it, to be honest with you.
Oh my gosh, John, you're gonna be like, wow, look at it. It's all the people we talk about. A lot of our podcast people that we've had, as well, guests and stuff too. It's really cool.
This is all the promotions on IWTV right here. There's so many promotions.
You can sit here like a whole week, like more than a week. It's like
hours and just go through and look at all these. I mean, they got
Combat Zone Wrestling to Jersey All Pro Wrestling, my local promotion that tore the territory. Prestige Wrestling, come on, like
OPW, On Point Wrestling. Pro Wrestling Magic. Shout out to Jimmy Baxter, Jimmy Wright.
Jersey All Pro.
They have Blitzkrieg Pro. I know that's over there, right?
Blitzkrieg.
Blitzkrieg.
Blizzerker or whatever. There's so many names. It's just insane.
New South, Creative Pro, Pro Wrestling Explosion, New Fear City, Unsanctioned Pro, Title Championship.
Title is a UK promotion, I believe. Yeah. So
which is
Title, yeah. Body Slam there. You've got that's a Scandinavian promotion. I think that's possibly from Norway or Sweden. So there's some promotions there that I'm definitely familiar with. That's pretty cool.
It's like a library.
You're not even halfway down the list yet.
No, it just keeps going.
Rise,
John,
that's another UK promotion. So
Vicious Outcast Wrestling. My gosh, I was the first promotion a deathmatch company I fell in love with. With Adam Bueller before he died.
Yeah.
See the promotion. You said. What? John said there was another promotion.
Rise. The one with their hand there. Yes. Is that Rise? Yeah, they're based in north of England. Only one event, but very familiar with those. That's really cool. I'm going to have to look more into that. There's Wrestle Carnival on the left there.
I think I have a Rise sticker.
You do indeed.
Nice.
For Big Joe.
Insane Championship Wrestling, ICW.
Yes, fantastic product right there. I love.
There's so many. It keeps going and going, John. It just Valkyrie
CW there.
The old. That's before they got contract. That's before they got fined. That fine for this because now they're on Fight TV. Yeah. Look at that. You got Chikara Wrestling. God, this is where do you get this?
So many. This
is a good advert for IWTV. If they're watching, they might want to kind of because we've done such a good job of promoting their website.
Absolutely.
If
Everett's really trying to get
free.
Everett's trying to really get us all involved somehow, right? Everett, you're trying.
There's a lot of podcasts to get on that they feature on IW for their commentary and stuff that promote for IWTV.
Use the code. Use the code.
Yeah. They're this is ain't this crazy, John, looking at all these promotions on this one network.
It's like a kid in a candy store. What do you go for first?
It really is.
Watch first.
Anarchy Wrestling. They got
weird wrestling that you never heard of.
Well, they got stuff on here that's just, I mean, they got NWA Mexico. They got that on here too. Tier 1 Wrestling, Lucha Mutant. I've stuff I've never even heard of or got into yet. What like Lucha Libre Bomb Wrestling.
Wow.
just there's so many, and it's unbelievable. But the one cool thing is when you go back to their main site here, if you go down, they got like a news thing and stuff. Like this right here, this is all that's airing from Thursday to Sunday right here. Right. These are all the live stuff you can watch.
Oh, look at Shaz McKenzie. She's really doing a little tour right now.
Right here?
Yeah. Yeah, Shaz McKenzie. She's doing a good tour in the US right now.
Yeah, there's so much wrestling and stuff that's
buy a ticket right to the show. It's crazy, right? You can just click on the link.
Like if I hit live stream now, what's going on right now? There's 2 events you can watch: H2O Bad Habits, or you can watch Blitzkrieg Pro. You can pick which one you want to watch. That's crazy. Or me, John, I got 2 monitors. I pull up 2 windows, 2 wrestling shows right here at the same time, and I got social media going over. One night, David calls me on the video, calls me on the phone, and he goes, "Hey man, what you doing?" I said, "Watching wrestling." "What you watching?" I'm like, "Look."
Wow.
And he's like,
"Explain."
He goes, "You're watching 2 wrestling events at the same time?" I said, "Yeah, I'm multitasking, man." I got social media over there.
You've probably got your treats in front of you as well, your snacks.
Yeah, ice cream.
Hey, what? All right, that's a good question. All right, John, and then I want to know from you, David. When you're sitting down and watching wrestling in front of you, what is the what do you have with you when you're watching wrestling?
The go-to snack. I got to be honest with you. Every year I make a big deal of WrestleMania, and I know that a lot of people will say that.
I think everybody
you've
have
got to have a WrestleMania party, even if it's by yourself. And I see you got your pizza, you got your Pringles, you got your bottle of Coca-Cola. You got your dessert, maybe some I don't know, maybe some ice cream or some profiteroles or a donut or something. But you got to have the selection in front of you. WrestleMania is a long event, isn't it? You know, you're talking at least 5 hours, so you got to keep your energy levels up. You've got to keep yourself awake, especially over here in the UK, because it plays at such amazing times in the morning. You know, like through till 4 or 5 a.m. So you need the sugary content to kind of keep your blood sugar going and keeping you awake. But definitely number 1 on my list has got to be the pizza, followed by a sweet treat, maybe a donut or some ice cream or something. But yeah, pizza's up there,
and a beverage, of course. Got to have a beer or a soda, you know.
Yeah, bottle of cola for sure to keep them the sugar going. But yeah, what about you guys?
What about you, David?
I like wings, chicken wings. I'll order a whole plate of wings and a pizza as well, or a sub. That's it, you know, and a bottle of beer in my hand, Budweiser, or whatever's on special, you know.
Me, I was eating, like, I'd have like Planters peanuts, but then I switched that out. I have like Ritz baked cracker, sour cream and onion. They're great. They're like
cheese whiz on top, little cheese whiz in.
No, not the cheese whiz, man. I can't do the cheese whiz. I tried it once and I can't do it. So I'll eat the crackers, and I may have grab pizza from the fridge. I may do that. Like frozen pizza. I like eating frozen pizza for some reason. I like it hot and cold.
Frozen you have pizza. To have nachos as well.
Nope.
Yeah, plain.
Also,
good choice.
I'll have a beverage with me. I may I mix it up. I'll drink. I'll have like a Smirnoff Ice, but then if at the store right down the road here that's like 2 minutes from me. If they don't have Smirnoff, then I go to the next best thing, which is Guinness. I have a Guinness stout.
Okay.
I love the taste of Guinness stout. I just love that. I love the taste of that. First time I tried Guinness stout was back in 2016, and I've been a fan of Guinness. I love it when I pour it in the cup and how it foams up to the top, man.
And of course we've had the Stone Cold beer, which is pretty good as well.
You've had the Stone Cold beer. I haven't not had it yet.
Man.
I've been looking for it. I've been looking for that. The Stone Cold IPA.
Because he's got a new one, isn't it? It's the Stone Cold Lager now. So he's got the IPA and now a lager. So
he's out there. He's making these.
Yeah, good for him.
Where's our beers? Podcast City Network beer and Chowder's Wrestling beer.
That'll be the next thing for sure.
I heard it's hard because Eric Bischoff. I talked to him briefly at a wrestling event, and he was talking about stuff going for him. I said, at least you had the beer going. He goes, yeah. He's like, I wanted to try it, and he's like, it's much more to it than what it is, and I forget exactly, but he broke it down for me, and I was like, wow. And he said, yeah, it's like there's just a lot that goes into it just to have your own beer and stuff. And
I will give a shout out to my friend for Tony Deppen, an independent wrestler. He actually has a brewery in Pennsylvania. Shout out to him.
Yes, that is amazing. But
John, Everett, what do you? Oh, go ahead.
One last thing I was going to tell you, because since I brought up Guinness, John, I went a whole year, and I did not drink. I didn't drink anything American. I drank a whole year. I drank imported for a whole year, like Guinness. I had the what was it, Iron Maiden? They have their own beer. I had that.
Really? I was not aware of that. That's interesting. It tastes pretty good. It was almost like an IPA, but it was a much like sweeter taste IPA. AC/DC, I think, had their own beer too, but it was actually made overseas. It wasn't made here. So I went a whole year. Yeah, all imported. I went a whole year just drinking imported, and then I went on vacation and went up to see my best friend, and he cracked open a Budweiser, and he said, "Here you go." I was like, "Man, I can't drink that." He goes, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "I've been drinking imported for about a year now." So he gave me the Budweiser. I took a swig of it, and oh my God, it did not taste like anything.
I'm surprised. I'm
surprised. So used to drinking imported for a whole year. That's why.
I'm surprised because of NASCAR, Everett. Daytona NASCAR. Like the Budweiser.
I mean, I had that. I drank Guinness. That was like my go-to thing to drink like for like a whole year. I drank like Guinness extra stout. I think I even like did like Corona. I think that was about it.
Yeah.
And I didn't drink anything that was American. I did just all imported for a whole year. My palate got used to it, because when I first started drinking Guinness, I'm like, oh man, I can't. But then I got used to drinking it, and then started drinking everything else that was imported. And then when I went back to American, I'm like, oh man, I can't drink this.
So have you stuck mostly to imported beers and lagers since then, or have you switched back to American beverages?
Yes, he loves.
I go back and forth. I go back and forth. I mostly stick more towards the imported, because there's something about the imported that I like, because I mean, I like if I do American, it'd be Yearling. That's about it. Like Yearling, because it'd be like Guinness, Smirnoff. Those are the type those are the two that I stay with. No, but every once in a while,
I like a good Yingling and a Jack Daniels once in a while. You know, like a nice Jack Daniels
whiskey. I'm a Jack Daniels person. I love my Jack and Coke. I grew up in, I spent a lot of time in Tennessee, so a lot of the rednecks, all they had, basically that my cousin, my big redneck cousin, he could pass for Larry the Cable Guy's brother. This man, he had Jack Daniels, Wild Turkey. That's all. Like when it came to whiskey, and I have to have my.
I think I'm ready for a drink.
You're ready for a drink.
All this talk.
All this talk for drink, man. But
let me ask you this, John. What do you have coming up? What do you got coming up for podcast? Why? Let's plug away and let's.
Great question. So this coming Tuesday, the 29th, 8 p.m. over here in the UK. It'll probably be 3 p.m. over Eastern Standard Time over in the States. But I do have Level X, the international superstars, Blanco Loco, and Axton Ray coming onto the show. And so they're going to be fantastic guests. Dream Girl Ellie as well. She's going to be there as well. So that'd be great to have three guests.
That's awesome because she was featured on a past AEW, which was awesome.
Well, all three of them were. All three. Yes. So I know that Blanco Loco and Axton Ray, Level X, they featured on an episode of Dark. And Dream Girl Ellie's been on a couple of Dark episodes, I believe. So it'd be good to kind of talk to them about their AEW experience, and I'm sure it won't be their last. Talk to them about their UK tour, which they're in the middle of at the moment, and about all their many successes around North America. So that's going to be a fantastic interview, which is going to be going out live 8 p.m. UK time. But I'm booked up with guests all the way up until July. So I've got the next 3 months kind of booked up with guests, and the next 15 or so episodes already kind of planned in the diary. Guests from North America, guests from all over the UK, guests from around Europe, and going to wrestling shows every week or every couple of weeks around the UK doing backstage interviews. So I'm busy guy.
Just like me, John. I'll be going to games. A lot of my friends will be supporting and be at that collective weekend for WrestleMania for the Game Changer presents the collective. Yes. They'll be there, but also I'll be appearing at the Atlantic City showcase for 3-day shows that they'll be doing. Prelude to Violence, to the week build up to the Tournament of Survival. But I won't be for that this year. I'll skip that.
Yeah, but so
and local wrestling and local wrestling as well, my Titan Championship wrestling is pretty.
Right, okay, but this is a fantastic time of the year for wrestling. There's so much good content out there in general, but around WrestleMania season, everybody produces some amazing matches, some amazing shows, because they all want to be seen, they want to be noticed around WrestleMania season. So WWE I think are doing some great stuff at the moment. Looking forward to WrestleMania. AEW are doing some fantastic content as well. So we're lucky to be living in a time where there's so many amazing promotions.
Let's just say shout out to Thunder Rosa for winning the title.
Oh yeah,
well deserved.
Absolutely.
And everybody else.
That was amazing.
And David, what do you have going on? Or Everett? No, actually, Everett Lee. What do you have going on the Everett Lee show? What do you have coming up?
I really don't have anything going on at the moment right now. I know I'm approaching 250 episodes right now on the Everett Lee show. Thank you. I just got done with episode 246 with James Kendrick. That's out right now. I would everyone check that out. I know tomorrow the video portion of that is going to be dropping tomorrow, but the audio portion's out right now. You can take a listen to it tomorrow, Saturday. The audio portion or the video portion is going to be dropping. I don't have any guests lined up right now because with my shoot job, there's some stuff that's going on, and I'm pretty much not gonna schedule anything at the moment because I don't know what type of hours I'm going to be working, and if I do, it's going to be 12-hour shifts. And the only thing I'm going to be wanting to do is when I get home is go to sleep. So I'm not scheduling anything right now, but one thing I am doing that I've jumped into that I want to
I shared this with you earlier, John. Also,
I'm pretty much since 2016 I've been doing like graphic design and doing stuff for like just doing logos, like the logos you see for the Everett Lee show. I designed that myself, and I've been dabbing around with like doing graphic design even far back as like 2005. But then as technology advanced, my hands got on that technology, and it's made it much better for me as an artist. And one of the things is that being an artist and being able to have access to like really good technology is that you could do a lot of stuff with. And I launched yesterday. I launched my website for my graphic designs. Right here, my official website, Everly Show, or not Everly Show, Everly, Everly Designs. I, been doing graphic designs with the GIMP program that I use. It's like Photoshop, Adobe. I've been using that since 2016. It's a free open source program. I've gotten used to that. And I've also did video editing thanks to the CFWE. I want to give a shout out to them from
and
giving me
Deathmatch Russell as well.
Their video editor from January of last year to September. And I use Sony Vegas Pro for my video editing, but I have a lot of stuff for like making flyers and for like wrestling promotions. I did a lot with CFWE designing our logo right there. To different types of stuff right there. That's the original logo. They want an updated logo, but I did like the wording in the background, and I changed. This is a new logo for CFWE. I did for them last year. I gave it to the promoter. He said, "Yeah, let's see what you got." And he liked it enough, and he decided to go with it. Creating match cards, posters like this for CFWE. It was a dream getting to be able to do stuff like this, make these cool looking backgrounds and different fonts, for this promotion here, and go crazy right here.
Oh, that's crazy! Look at that.
Wrestling promotion, calls their event called "Shove It Up Your Ass." Only CFWE. So getting to do stuff like this was just really great. Cool. Thank you. And also doing posters for podcast.
Yeah,
like
posters
right here for this one podcast I know of called Deathmatch Wrestle Podcast.
Oh, I've never heard of that one. Oh, there we go. I know the one.
Doing posters and stuff for Deathmatch Wrestle Podcast.
Taught me how to do it. Taught me the right way over the years.
Throw stuff like this together here for David C. Russell. He's let me show off some of his work.
Your work too as well.
Logos like this for podcasts that there. But it's something that I'm doing, and I'm open for business. So you can contact me right over here on the website, a contact section.
Where is it over there? Come on.
Right here.
Yeah, there you go.
The Facebook page, which
yes, we'll have to everybody. Please subscribe, like it, follow it.
Where is the Facebook page?
You lost it.
Yeah, I lost it. Let me go ahead and bring it back up one more time.
Technology, everybody good.
I know. There's the Facebook page right there. Everett Lee Designs.
Ooh,
It just opened yesterday. So if you have flyers and posters need to be made, just head over to the website and send me an email, everettleedesigns@gmail.com. Already got one person that's already hit me up. They're looking for something to be made. So I hope that's many more to come. So, yep,
That's
already
awesome.
up to 25.
But Deathmatch Russell, what do you have to close out this week?
So that's pretty much what I got going on. So
what about Deathmatch Russell? Hey, all right, Deathmatch Russell. John actually knows the guest I'll be having on because he saw the flyer. I'll be having the Vape Master, the Vape God himself. Fletch Malone will be on the podcast.
Fletch Malone. I've had that gentleman on my show. A great guest. You're going to have a ton of fun with him.
Yeah, we're going to talk to Smoke, right? Talk to Smoke. Talk to Smoke. This is going to be a lot of vaping. And then stay tuned Thursday night, as my guest will be. I haven't put the poster up yet, but the one and only Damian Saint will be joining. Damian Saint will be joining the Deathmatch Russell podcast. So a friend of mine is and friend of Everett's as well. So
yeah, I met him in person. He came down here in Daytona. He was on vacation. I finally got to meet him in person after talking to him for all these years.
Yeah, so he's a great person and good manager and referee. So looking forward to catching up with him and see what he's been up to. And maybe Everett will pop in that podcast because he loves to pop into everywhere. But that's it. That's a wrap. But where can we all find we have your links? I think I still have it up here, John. Where can we find the Wrestling Genres podcast?
Well,
let's see. I got some. Oh, that's horrible. Oh, the hell? Just
look at that. It's all there.
Yeah.
Well, you can find us all over social media. Simply search Wrestling with Johners, and that's Johners spelled with one N, JOHNERS, Wrestling with Johners. You can also find the Wrestling with Johners podcast wherever you download your audio podcast. So Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Podbean. And of course, don't forget to go to wrestlingwithjohners.com, which is the home of the Johners Podcasting Network, which is also available in app form as well. So the Johners Podcasting Network can be downloaded onto your phone as an app. If you go to Google Play Store, search Johners and you'll see the Johners Podcasting Network app there. Download it to your phone today. For iOS or for Apple phones, just simply go to the website and you can save that to the desktop. But you'll find all the great content at wrestlingwithjohners.com. And like I say, on social media, just search wrestlingwithjohners.com and subscribe to us on YouTube. We're looking to get our numbers up a little bit. But I really appreciate you having me on your show this week.
Hey, absolutely, John.
It's been an absolute blast. And great meeting you as well, Everett.
Thank you. It's been an honor, man. It's been an honor.
We'll do it during Christmas. We'll do another episode eventually again. We'll catch up.
It's got to happen.
Another one.
Yeah, it's got to happen.
But stay tuned, fans. Listen to all the podcasts, a lot of wrestling, and just enjoy wrestling, support wrestling as always. Good night, everybody. Till next time. Stay in the room, John. Oh, you know how to do this, right? Stay here. We'll be back.
In the broadcast, right?